Hi, I'm Jenna.
And I'm Pieter.
And welcome to the Path of Light Institute.
Who are we and why we teach this work? We thought it might be helpful to tell you a little bit more about who we are. Because if you're considering professional training in hypnosis and regression, you're not simply choosing a course. You're choosing the people you're going to learn from. And we believe that matters. My name is Pieter Elsen, and together with my wife Jenna, I run the Path of Light Institute. My own journey into this work has been rather unusual. I was born in the Netherlands and originally trained and worked as an industrial designer. But from quite a young age, I found myself drawn towards some of the deeper questions of human existence. Who are we? Why are we here? What is consciousness? And is there something within us that extends beyond this physical life? Eventually, that search completely changed the direction of my life. I became a Vedic monk and spent more than 21 years living a monastic life devoted to meditation, spiritual study, and service. 11 of those years were spent in India, where I immersed myself deeply in Vedanta and Eastern spiritual philosophy. Over the years, I lived in 5 different countries, and those experiences exposed me to many different cultures, beliefs, and ways of understanding the human experience. Eventually, my journey brought me to the United States and later into the field of hypnosis, past life regression, and life between lives regression. For me, it felt like a natural continuation of the questions I had already spent decades exploring. Only now, instead of exploring those questions primarily through philosophy and meditation, I was sitting with people as they explored the deeper dimensions of their own consciousness. I became a life between lives regression hypnotherapist through the Michael Newton Institute, and over the years I've had the privilege of guiding many people through profound regression experiences. I also wrote When Souls Awaken, in which I share accounts from past lives and life between lives regression and explore some of the spiritual philosophies surrounding these experiences. And then there is Jenna. Jenna and I came to this work through somewhat different paths, and I think is actually one of the strengths as us being teachers. Jenna has an extensive background in therapeutic and mind-body work. She's a hypnotherapist like I am, and a regression practitioner, but she's also a licensed massage therapist, certified yoga therapist, Reiki practitioner, and a Tai Chi instructor. She also studied yoga, meditation, and Vedic philosophy in India. Where my background has been deeply rooted in contemplative practice, spiritual philosophy, and the study of consciousness, Jenna brings tremendous experience in therapeutic work, guided imagery, the body-mind connection, and working directly with people. When we brought those backgrounds together, something very natural began to emerge. We wanted to teach regression in a way that respected both sides of this work, the practical and the profound. Because on one level, regression requires very practical skills. Hypnotic induction, deepening, questioning, working with emotion, understanding imagery, knowing how to keep a session moving, recognizing when to intervene and when to remain quiet. These are skills that can be learned. But at the same time, this work brings us face to face with questions humanity has been asking for thousands of years. What is consciousness? What is memory? What is identity? And what are we actually encountering when we enter these deeper states of consciousness and awareness? One of the principles Jenna and I care deeply about is that we don't need to dictate the answer. We don't need to convince a client that past lives exist. And we don't need to convince them that they don't. Our responsibility is to create the conditions in which people can explore their own experience. That same philosophy shapes the way we teach. We want our students to understand the techniques, but we also want them to learn how to think and respond as practitioners. Because you can teach somebody a very good script, and scripts are extremely useful when you're beginning. But eventually a real person sits in front of you and does something that isn't on a page, that isn't on a particular page on the script. And that's where the real training begins. What do you do when someone can visualize? What happens when they suddenly become emotional? What happens when a session moves somewhere you didn't expect? And what happens when the client says, "I don't know"? Or when they give you an answer you'd never anticipated? This is where you begin moving from simply following a script to truly becoming a practitioner. And that transformation is one of our favorite things to watch in our students. In the beginning, they're often thinking, am I saying the right thing? Am I doing this correctly? What if I forget what comes next? But gradually they begin to relax. They listen more deeply. They become curious about the person in front of them. They learn when to guide, when to ask other questions, and when simply to allow the experience to unfold. And eventually you see that moment when they realize, I can actually do this. So for us, teaching isn't simply about transferring information. It's about mentoring someone into skill. And this is why practice matters. Feedback matters. Case reviews matter. Receiving sessions yourself matters. And even making mistakes matters, because that's how your confidence and judgment develop. You see, we want our students to leave with far more than just a certificate. We want them to leave with genuine experience and the confidence to begin doing this work responsibly. And we want to create an environment where people can explore these extraordinary subjects seriously without losing the sense of wonder that drew them here in the first place. You can be professional without becoming rigid. You can be spiritually curious without becoming dogmatic. You can explore extraordinary experiences while remaining grounded, thoughtful, and deeply respectful of the person sitting in front of you. That balance is at the heart of the Path of Light Institute. We are practitioners and teachers. But after all these years, Jenna and I still consider ourselves students of consciousness. Because every client teaches us something. Every student teaches us something. And every session reminds us how much there still is to discover about the human mind, consciousness, and the mystery of who we are. If you decide to train with us, that's the environment you're stepping into. Not one where you're told what you must believe, but one where you are encouraged to learn deeply, practice seriously, remain curious, and discover for yourself just how extraordinary this work can be. So we're both so looking forward to meeting you.